It's that time of year, ladies and gentlemen. Royal Rumble 2025 in the books. Royal Rumble 2025, arguably the greatest Royal Rumble of all time. So let's get down to it. Charlotte Flair wins the Women's Royal Rumble. Cody Rhodes retains the WWE Championship against Kevin Owens in a vicious ladder match for the WWE Championship. And then main event, Jey Uso. It's no longer just a tagline. It's no longer just a nickname, main event Jey Uso. Main event Jey Uso is going to main event WrestleMania after winning his first ever Royal Rumble match. He outlasted CM Punk. He outlasted John Cena. He outlasted Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, and so many more. Jey Uso, who is crushing WWE merchandise sales, who is crushing the ratings, who is arguably WWE's most popular superstar today. Triple H and company, Nick Khan, Stephanie McMahon, whoever you want to call, Shawn Michaels, whoever name it, pulled the trigger with Jey Uso and gave the crowd a very unpredictable choice in a very unpredictable men's Royal Rumble match. So let's get down to that, because listen, you had Roman Reigns, who's at the top of his game. You have CM Punk, who's at the top of his game. You have John Cena, who is the franchise in his final ever Royal Rumble match, wants to headline WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre's at the top of his game. Seth Rollins is at the top of his game. You had so many choices. I mean, you thought like maybe The Rock would come out. Maybe you had another surprise coming out. Maybe Randy Orton was going to return. That way you set up Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. There were so many different avenues WWE could have taken in the men's Royal Rumble match. And they went with one that was not necessarily predictable at all, but was also a choice where you could afford to be unpredictable and have the fans love it. Everybody loves Jey Uso. Nobody's going to think like, man, he shouldn't have won that match. There's a lot of marks on the internet that say Jey Uso should have never won the Royal Rumble match. When you had Cena, Punk, Reigns, Rollins, McIntyre, and you sacrificed all that for a guy who has 4 moveset. Whatever, marks. Jey Uso deserved it. I mean, you look at his trajectory since 2020, since joining that whole bloodline feud with Roman Reigns. He went from being in a tag team that was on the pre-show at Money in the Bank in 2021 to being potentially in the main event of WrestleMania. Now, will he actually have a main event spot at WrestleMania? Highly doubtful. I think WWE has secured at least 3 main events in my mind going into WrestleMania. I think we have at least 2 matches confirmed. In my mind, 3. One of them is going to be Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Listen, Jey Uso is over with the fans like no other superstar that we've ever seen. He's selling more merchandise, yeet, than ever before. He's going to main event WrestleMania, yeet, which is something he's never done before. He is going to be the first Uso to main event WrestleMania as a singles competitor, yeet. Remember, Jimmy and Jay main evented against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the Raw Tag Team titles, or the undisputed WWE Tag Team titles, I should say, at WrestleMania 39 and Night 1 in Hollywood, California. But Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Like I said, I don't think it's going to main event one of the shows. I think it might like kick off Night 2 of WrestleMania like we saw with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre a year ago, just because there's bigger storylines with bigger superstars. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. Jey Uso's well on his way to being a top-tier main event star in the WWE. WWE pulled the trigger with him winning the Royal Rumble. The crowd erupted after John Cena got eliminated. Both, bittersweet moment, John Cena getting eliminated in his final Royal Rumble, but you're happy for Jey Uso. I think that's a match that probably kicks off Night 2 or like is one of like the back 3 matches in Night 1 or Night 2 potentially. But I think our 2 main events, and I've said this already on YouTube Shorts, I think our 2 main events in the main event of WrestleMania is going to be CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns in a triple threat match that will feed generations of families with the amount of hatred and long-term storytelling between all 3 of those guys. Obviously, CM Punk and Seth Rollins feud, well documented. CM Punk and Roman Reigns' feud got the most views ever for a WWE reel on Instagram when they teamed together at Survivor Series War Games back in November. Remember, CM Punk is still owed a favor from Paul Heyman for all of that, so we'll see how that comes into play. And then obviously Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins have a decade worth of history together with the Shield. What happened last year at WrestleMania was Seth Rollins being Cody Rhodes' Shield, per se, in parentheses, for Cody Rhodes to have a moment and beat Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship in Philadelphia. There's just so many moving parts to that where, like, you don't even need a title. CM Punk versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins in the main event of WrestleMania. That is all you need. And you know those three will feed families for generations. That's your either night one or night two of Mania main event. And that's what makes this so special, is that there's not really a guaranteed, like, you could have either that on night one or night two, and I think the fans would be thrilled. The other main event, Punk Rollins Reigns in a triple threat match, I think we are going to get after he potentially and most likely will win the WWE Elimination Chamber match in Toronto in 4 weeks on March 1st. I think we're going to see WWE Undisputed Champion Cody Rhodes defending his championship in the main event against the man going for his 17th record-breaking world championship in World Wrestling and Entertainment, Mr. John Cena, in his final WrestleMania match in the main event for the WWE Championship. I think it's only fitting. Those two have never squared off as main event stars. I know John Cena versus Cody Rhodes was probably a match we saw back in the 2000s when Cody was coming up and he was just a mid-card heel. Whatever. Completely different Cody Rhodes 15 years later, right? The face of the franchise going up against the guy who held it down for nearly 20 years. Cena versus Rhodes, good guy versus good guy. John Cena going after a 17th World Heavyweight Championship. That main event's WrestleMania. So you have Cena versus Rhodes. You have Punk, Reigns, Rollins. Most likely The Rock's not coming back. At this point, if The Rock comes back, he's just ruining another feud that the WWE set up, to be honest. At this point, you can't really have Reigns versus Rock. I know that's the match everybody wants to see, but you just full-fledged had Seth Rollins destroy and dismantle Roman Reigns after he got eliminated from the Royal Rumble match. Double boot curb stomp onto the floor, and then another curb stomp onto the steel steps to Roman Reigns. At very least, if we don't get Punk, Rollins, Reigns, we're definitely getting Rollins Reigns at WrestleMania. Maybe that frees up CM Punk to win the Elimination Chamber, and then you go Punk Rhodes, and then Cena doesn't main event WrestleMania, and then you just have him face like a Logan Paul or a Drew McIntyre, which is still great matches, but it's John Cena's final WrestleMania. Put him up against the now face of the company and Cody Rhodes in his final match. Cody Rhodes wanted that match. There was a clip of them hugging when John Cena introduced Cody Rhodes on Raw back in 2023 leading up to WrestleMania 39, where Cody Rhodes asked John Cena, he's like, I'd love to be one of your final matches. And John Cena's like, it's not up to me. Well, now it is. John Cena could pitch himself in the main event against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. So I think that's the plan, right? Cena, Rhodes, Punk, Reigns, Rollins. If Rock comes back, you do Rock versus Rhodes and then potentially kick John Cena to the curb, or do you do Rock Reigns and then you just have Punk and Rollins maybe in like a final rubber match between the two? I mean, there's going to be a lot of moving parts. We saw it last year. Things aren't set in stone until they're set in stone. There's a lot of moving parts. Having Jey Uso win the Royal Rumble match allows WWE to set up a main event, probably not one of the two last matches on each show, Saturday and Sunday, but it gives you a chance to put over a guy that the fans love and want to see win a world championship against a world champion that, quite frankly, I don't think is ready to have a main event match at WrestleMania. And that might be a controversial take. I don't think Gunther is ready to main event a WrestleMania. I don't think he's had a main event worthy storyline yet with the World Heavyweight Championship to have that. So I think Jey Uso versus Gunther, kind of like last year when we saw Gunther versus Sami Zayn, you just have like the brutality with Gunther going up against an underdog. Sami Zayn beat him last year. Jey Uso could win it this year against Gunther and win the World Heavyweight Championship, kind of like a Daniel Bryan, Sami Zayn, or Cody Rhodes moment like last year, right? Or even a Kofi Kingston moment from WrestleMania 35. I think you have 3 months now to determine those two main events. I think we're going to see a very stacked Elimination Chamber match. I think we're going to see an Elimination Chamber match that'll determine the WWE Championship, who will face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. And with 6 competitors, I think we're going to see 6 former world champions. I think we're going to see John Cena in it. I think we're going to see Roman Reigns in it. I think we're going to see CM Punk in it. I think we're going to see Seth Rollins in it. I think we're going to see Drew McIntyre in it. And then you could play your cards. You could do a Damian Priest. You could do an AJ Styles. You could do a Logan Paul. Maybe Randy Orton comes back at that point. Maybe you throw Kevin Owens in there, right? Though Kevin Owens took a brutal bump on that ladder to end that match. Almost looked like he really hurt himself. Both guys really injured at the end of that WWE Championship match in that ladder match at the Royal Rumble. But I digress. We're going to see an all-star Elimination Chamber match for John Cena's final Elimination Chamber match. You could obviously cancel out Punk, Rollins, and Reigns if those three just cancel each other out. Then you have McIntyre and Priest, which I think they were kind of eyeing towards because Priest eliminated McIntyre. I'm hearing rumblings that it wasn't supposed to go that way. McIntyre actually left the event pissed off before the Royal Rumble had ended. I don't know what happened there. Maybe we see McIntyre versus Priest after Priest cashed in on McIntyre last year at WrestleMania. Who knows? Maybe you insert McIntyre into that triple threat, make it a fatal four-way between Punk, Reigns, McIntyre, and Rollins. There's a lot you could do there as well. I think Punk, Reigns, Rollins in the main event of WrestleMania is a solid pivot from Rock versus Reigns. If that was your plan, if The Rock was able to main event WrestleMania. If not, you could have had Rock versus Rhodes. If the pivot to that is Cena versus Rhodes, I'll take it 10 times out of 10. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes in the main event of WrestleMania. I think that's a face versus face match. I don't think you necessarily turn either one of them heel, though a heel John Cena would be something just unfathomable. We've never seen it. Or a heel Cody Rhodes, a Homelander Cody Rhodes. We haven't quite gotten to that point yet. Maybe they speed that up. But John Cena versus Cody Rhodes and Punk versus Reigns versus Rollins, those are my two main events for WrestleMania. Then you got Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. And everything else, I think we'll see potentially Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton. Two stories you could tell right there. Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest could be a direction that they're going in. Then you kind of just fill in the blanks from there. There's a lot of missing puzzle pieces, but I think WWE has found its foundation for WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas.